Turning down my mic. Yo, everybody, what's going on? Murder Church on a Tuesday night, episode 23, Phil Spector murder trial. Thank you guys so much for coming through here. Really appreciate it. If you have not yet, hit that like, give her the old share ski on the X machine, on any socials, actually. I really appreciate anyone that's already done so. Seen Miss Dina coming through earlier with a share. Tara and Dusty, thank you guys so much. Really appreciate that. Coming through with an awesome show tonight. Got some giveaways, got an insane giveaway coming out the gate. Before you do anything, just hold up. I've got some stuff to go over. This is going to be a really fun night. You guys fucking rule. Coming through. Buzz Nation, let's go.
Let's rock.
Ladies and gentlemen, what's up, guys? Welcome in here. Thank y'all so much. Appreciate it. Beard's a little bit crazy. I had to put this hoodie on. It was a little nippy down here. Now I'm already getting hot. I was getting hyped up for the show, baby. Murder Church is on the air. Thanks a lot for everybody coming in. Really appreciate it. If you have not yet, hit the like. We got some cool stuff going on tonight. So first and foremost, we're giving away a van, a Meowder Church van that was made by Tayo Toys. Before anybody does any kind of donations or give or any kind of supers, any kind of like cash apps, hold up. I've got a plan here. Here's what I want to do. So I've got two things planned. We're going to be giving this van away, which I'm going to show momentarily, which is fucking dope if anybody's already seen it. But we do already have 5 names on this wheel from Sunday. These are true Murder Church Patreons. Now, here's what I wanted to talk about. So on this wheel right now, I have Kathy. She wanted Pumpkin, her cat, on there. I got Sheila Duffy. I got Tracy K. I got Queen Olive, who I see there in the chat, and Julio Suave. Okay, that's 5 names that I've got in this chat, on this wheel. Kathy did send in another 420 on Sunday, but I'm going to move her down to the new wheel, and I'm going to explain why. This very first wheel is going to be exclusively for this Tayo Toys Publicly Buzzed Meowder Church van. Okay, when I say go, when I say, you know, however, if anybody comes through, I guess, you know, it'd be, if you guys don't, I mean, once you see this thing, it's going to blow your mind. The first, what is it, 7 people, isn't it? Yeah, I think 7 people, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, we have 5 names. I need 7 more to fill out a wheel. The first 7 folks that come through giving supers, cash apps, I'm going to be looking right here in the email as well. I'm actually going to go and get that up. I'm about to show the van also, will be put on this wheel for a spin to get this dank-ass van that Tayo Toys has been so kind to make and give over for this giveaway. I also want to show something really cool for him. He sent his Etsy page, which is freaking awesome as hell. This guy's absolutely unbelievable. If you're not following him on X, if you're not following him on Facebook, you absolutely should be. He is the man. So here's what's going on. Here's what's happening. All right, let me just make sure we're good here. All right, so here's the fucking van. Look at this son of a bitch. Look at this son of a bitch. There's the van. All right, this thing is crazy. This thing is nuts. We've given away a van in the past. This is a new color scheme, and we have some new merch we'll be giving away as well tonight. The second wheel will be for a Meowder Church shirt and a Murder Church hat combo that will be happening on the second one. But the very first one, the first 7 names, again, wait till I say go. All right, don't do it yet. Will be put on this wheel for this exclusive Meowder Church van. Okay, again, the only way to get on there is to give a super or a cash app to get on there. So I'm going to say go, and then that's when you guys go. Oh, God, I see Miss Dina throw one in there. Okay, I'm going to say go, guys. All right, I know. Oh, my God, Miss Dina, I'm sorry. All right, I'm about to do it right now. I haven't said it yet. I'm just getting ready. I just want everybody to get in. Who all's in here tonight? Okay, let me first of all go through the list just really quick. Oh, shit, Holly Berry, it's too early. That's too early. Hold on now. Everybody calm down. I haven't said go. I have not said go. All right, Bassett Page in the house. Jersey Gin. Holly Berry hanging and banging tonight. CH in the house. Dizzy, thank you for coming through here. Donna coming through here. Heather Honey coming through here. Miss Dina coming through here. Queen Olive, who is on that wheel from Sunday. Kaylin coming through here. Oasis Cat, thank you so much. Carrie, everybody, thank y'all so much. Kelly Bobelli. All right, I'm about to say go. I know. Oh, God, you guys are going to fight me. Thank you so much. Miss Dina, Holly Berry, you guys are going to be on the second wheel. All right, those will go for the second wheel. That's what I'm going to do there. All right, those are going to the second wheel. I made that right. I feel bad. All right, I'm getting ready to do it. You ready? You guys ready? And this it may take a minute. If it does, we're going to jump into the episode. But make sure I got my thing right. 1, 2, 3, go. Now, any of the supers and cash apps or Venmos that come through count for the wheel that will be spun for this van, and that is exclusively, again, for the van on this one, folks. So there we go. Got her up here. Again, everybody, thanks for coming through anyways. I've cracked a brewski wide open because I need it today. I saw somebody else in the chat saying they needed it too. Tara and Dusty needed this tonight. I feel you. Kelly Bobelli. Boom. First one on the wheel. 6 more to go. And we will jump in here. I'm just going to get Kelly on here real quick. Thank you so much. Kelly wants that van. I want the freaking van is what's crazy. I want the van. Oh shit, now they're rolling through. There we go. We're gonna do this pretty quickly, I bet. There's Holly Berry. I'm glad you still got on there, Holly. I'm sorry. You're also on the next one. Just so we're clear. Everybody calm down. Okay. Woo. I have to take this hoodie off. I'm gonna hype myself up. My eyeball is still falling out of my head. Also, Miss Dina on that son of a bitch. $1.99 getting in there. Thank you so much. Here we go. This is gonna be filled up pretty quickly. Miss Dina, thank you so much. Kicking ass and taking names per the use. Joe Schmo, boom, on that son of a bitch. Let's go. 2 more. Heather Honey, 2 more names. Who's going to get a spin on this wheel for a possibility of winning this van from Tayo Toys? Now, let me also show you Tayo Toys' Etsy page, which is absolutely insane. Like, this dude puts in really cool work. This would be cool for like kids that are into like Hot Wheels or anything like that. And actually, I think my nephews would probably dig something like this as well as I continue to get these on the wheel. Boom! There we are. That is done. The van. No wait. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Miss Dina and Holly Berry. One thing, you guys are gonna hate me again. I could totally give that back to you, but I am only doing 1 name for this entire wheel. I don't want to do a duplicate on this one. I'm so sorry. Heather Honey, let me get you on there. And I'll put you guys doubly on the next wheel. So let me go ahead and do that. Holly. And that's going to be for the combo murder Meowder Church shirt. So let me get you guys on there real quick. So yeah, the second wheel's already filling up, which, can do doubles. But this first one, I want it to be singles on here. So let me go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, yeah, 2 more on there. And that should wrap that thing up right there for the van. I'm just trying to get Heather Honey on here real quick. Hold on, Heather Honey. Thank you so much for that $4.99. Getting on that son of a bitch. I think she was in the running for a van before, if I'm not crazy, which I might be. But yeah, we're going to jump in here right now for some fucking Phil Spector. I've got a probably nothing in front of me as well. Again, today has been long. I don't even know what's been happening. I still, when I get off of here, I need to get Gypsy a bath because she smells horrible. I'm still putting these eye drops in my freaking eyes, and they've not completely gotten completely better yet. So I think it's a busted eye blood vessel. The more I look into it, and I forget the actual technical term for it, but the more I actually look into it, and that's what the doctor thought, that takes like 2 weeks to actually heal. So I'm not freaking out yet, but I am getting a little bit more light sensitive and like getting some headache issue. Not really a headache, but like a random filling in my head, maybe. I don't know. Oh yeah, let me show all Phil's fucking, look at this. So I'm going to put the link here in the chat as well. It's etsy.com/shop/Tayo Toys. Look at this, dude. So this dude does custom names on anything really that you would want to be said on a car, but names for birthdays, anything like that. Help companies, this would be cool for. Yeah, Tayo Toys does some really cool work. Like, he's really a unique dude. And, man, he's one of the coolest people that I've met in true crime, if I'm going to be freaking honest. And there's his link. Man, go and support this guy. He's given us tons of stuff to give away. He designed this entire fucking shirt design. Like, this is all Tayo Toys. Like, he gives back so much to this community, and he's one of the most kindest people that I've met so far. Kelly Bobelli coming in for the second wheel. I got you. Everybody coming through here. Hell yeah. Thank y'all so much. Insane per the usual. But yeah, Tayo Toys, again, man, he's so fucking cool. Like, I can't say enough cool, nice things about him. He makes those like videos and syncs up all the different creators in true crime, and he tries to help out smaller folks. Like, that's one of the coolest things that I've learned about Phil is he's just a genuine human being. Kelly, let me get you on this wheel for the second wheel. Thank you so much. Got you on that thing. Again, 2 more names for the car wheel, for the van wheel. But Kelly, yeah. For the hat, shirt combo. Again, the brand new merch. You guys are on there. Yeah, let's start this episode up. I'm going to keep an eye on the email, see if anything else rolls through. And yeah, hopefully we'll get that van out of here tonight. Boom. 2 more people on the wheel. Let's rock, though. Let's get in here. We're still hanging out with Dr. Peña. And I've got an emoji there in the chat for him as well, if anybody wants to drop that. Boom, there he is. There's old Dr. Peña. All right, guys, let's rock and roll. Let me make sure I got the sound going. Yes, boom. This is the first time I've really chilled since this morning.
Larry Paul Fiddler, just presiding.
All right, on the record, the defendant is present with his counsel. The district attorneys are present. The jurors and alternates are present. The witness previously sworn and still under oath is on the stand. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And we're going to be with Dr. Peña for quite some time.
Yesterday, get the podium situated where it should be.
Let's get a throw up on here.
We were talking about some meetings that you had with some people from the district attorney's office, and they were asking you questions, and you were giving a reply to those?
Yes.
Okay. And from time to time, would it be correct, Dr. Peña, that you would meet with the prosecuting attorneys and discuss concerns, and then also have meetings at your office with the people that work there about their concerns?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to have another, well, Dr. Peña, did you have a meeting on February 26th of 2004 that generated a...
Taryn Dusty, who was an insane supporter here in the Buzz Nation, gifted out a membership earlier, and whoever grabbed that, welcome the hell in here, and yeah, I'm going to get you on that second wheel. And I see Wildside having some issues there.
Typed memo that was put in the coroner's official file, and I could show it to you to refresh your recollection. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay, and you were present at that meeting, and that memo recorded what was discussed at that meeting. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and could we have marked next in order the memo that's dated 2/26/04 and its discovery page 2410?
Double M.
Thank you. M&M, Dr. Peña, and I'm going to ask that be put up on the screen here as soon as we can find.
I'm sorry, same objection unless there's a foundation laid that is an actual business record rather than simply minutes taken at a meeting. It's hearsay.
Sustained. And
I'll lay the foundation.
just a second. Hold on.
Dr. Peña, I have a copy of it if you can't find yours. Would you like me to show you my copy?
Yes, thanks.
Okay. Dr. Peña, I'm showing you what's been marked as Exhibit MN. Sorry? Just before court, I showed you this to see if you recognized it, and you did. This is Exhibit double M. Do you?
Yes.
Okay, this would this be one of the coroner's records on a form?
Boom, got that wild side coming through the Venmo with a 420 cash. Well, no, it's not a cash up because it's a Venmo. A 420 Venmo in the perfect amount. Thank you so much, Wild Side. One more name, folks, is all we need for a spin for that van. Let's see who's going to be.
That was actually
who's it going to be?
Handwritten.
Yes.
And does it reflect, accurately reflect a business record for the coroner's office that documents a meeting on the date set forth in that document, MM?
Yes.
One more name.
Does
the second will's already
person
bouncing.
that typed this up, did that person have a duty to accurately record the circumstances of that meeting and the concerns that were addressed in that memo?
Yeah.
It calls for speculation unless this doctor happens to know who typed it up and under what circumstances this.
Are you aware of that, Doctor?
Yes.
Then the
Gabby, I
objections
just
are-
saw that dinner that you made the other night. Holy shit. And those
And
meatballs.
is this,
You're a
along with your
cook.
notes, along with your diagrams, along with your report, is it part of the official coroner's file in the case where the decedent is identified as Lana Clarkson?
Yes.
And does it bear the identification number of the decedent's case, this particular document?
Yes, it does.
And what
that'd be cool.
identification number does it bear?
03-00937.
Which is the previously testified to identification number specific to Lana Clarkson, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Proposed to
Shit, Randy coming through and picking up a Meowder Church shirt. Thank you so much, Randy.
put it up, ask questions.
Okay.
Thank you. We could have this
If nobody comes through in the next couple of minutes, I'm going to throw Randy on that fucking wheel for buying a Meowder Church shirt. Boom. I'll do it. I'll do it.
Exhibit MM, Dr. Peña is now on the board, and it addresses a number of concerns that resulted from some previous meetings. Would that be correct, Dr. Peña?
Yes.
Okay, I want to go through them first of all. The first people at the meeting were Mr. Dixon, another deputy DA.
I'm going to put my name on
along with
there. I want
yourself
that
and
van.
Dr. Lakshmanan, is that correct?
Van's freaking
Yes.
sweet.
Okay, and let's go for number one, the first bullet point that's in the meeting, and I'll just ask you some general questions. And I'm sure that this is not a complete memo, but I wanted to have you look at this and then tell us what the concerns were and what your role was in identifying and correcting these concerns if you were able to do that. So the first one had to do with some tooth fragments from the crime scene that were recovered by the sheriff, and they were given to Steve Dallin, an odontologist, and there was some problems regarding that. What were the problems that were raised regarding those tooth fragments?
At the death scene, there were three
Christina's
vials,
filling up that second
were
wheel.
collected.
Thank you so much,
A couple of those
Christina.
that I had found,
Insane
and
support.
one from someone else. Again, they were put in 3 vials. One of those 3 vials, we examined those with the dentist odontologist around middle of February, early February. There were 2 times, February, I believe, 7th and February 13th, to review the tooth fragments because they were reconstructing basically for Ms. Clarkson's mouth from her original dental records to identify that those porcelain fragments found at the scene were indeed hers. So what happened is that on review, on the second time I met with the odontologist, one of those times, he admitted later to a letter to Dr. Lakshmanan, the chief medical examiner, that he broke one of the vials and my back was turned. I did not know it at the time, and the tooth was lost. It flew around the room somewhere and it never could be found. But he didn't tell us till months had passed. But I found out actually at the end, I believe, of March of 2003, I received a call from Mr. Steve Dow, who informed me that the vial was broken, but I'd already sealed it. And that's basically what happened. But what happened is I had sealed that. I had all the fragments put in the separate envelopes, and I went ahead and sealed them. But what wasn't never relayed to me from the dentist who actually broke it, when my back was turned, he somehow took it out of there without telling me, cracked the vial, panicked, that's the word he used, stuffed it back in, and got scared because he knew he lost the tooth. He didn't tell me again. I went ahead and sealed it because I already looked at it knowing that the tooth fragments were there. And it was only one of the 3 that were broken. And that's what happened.
Okay.
But it came up to me about a month later, and then we were all trying to figure out what happened to the tooth.
Okay, so Dr. Peña, let me ask some foundational questions regarding the teeth. You had talked yesterday about the fact that you noticed that there were some missing front incisors from Lana Clarkson, and you felt that might be something that was important to look for at the scene. Is that correct?
Yes.
And did you, and you testified that you actually searched and found them. Is that correct?
Some of them, yes.
Okay, and where were they located? If you could tell the jury where they were located in relationship to where Lana Clarkson was.
Ms. Clarkson in the foyer of the rear entrance, On the red carpet in front of her were a couple of pieces, if I recall correctly. And then right adjacent to that is a stair case that goes up to a second level, and there were some located on that area too, on a red carpet, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Were there some on the stairs also, actually midway up the stairs somewhere?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so basically, if I'm picturing this correctly, the gun is fired in her mouth, and the gun recoils, and it knocks her two front teeth out, essentially. Is that correct? And they break apart?
Yes.
And basically, her teeth were not natural. They were acrylic because she had some restoration dental work done. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the sight of the gun, where you aim the gun, it has some notches on it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, we've got some pictures we'll look at a later time, but basically when the recoil occurred, it caught those two teeth, broke those two teeth, and then they went flying either towards the wall to the stairs or even up on the stairs, some of the fragments.
Correct.
Okay, now, when you went to the scene and did the things that you did you have occasion to have to check in some way to the scene?
Yes.
And what was the procedure that law enforcement was using to do that? In other words, to check in and document the fact that you had gotten to the scene?
I bring my ID badge, official LA County Coroner's badge, and a metallic badge with me with a number on it. That number is unique to myself as a LA County employee. I log in on the
Serve
log
Navy grogs out to the jury.
sheet because it goes in sequential order, who's first, second, et cetera.
Navy grog.
I don't know, I can't remember what number I was on the log sheet, but I put my name, my title, where I'm employed, and my ID number on that, and the time I entered.
From the window to the walls.
Okay, so when you go to a death scene that's being investigated where law enforcement is involved, they actually have a log, and you have to sign that log once you go in because they want to track how many people go in and what they do, correct?
Yes.
Okay, could we have next in order exhibit the next in
Double N.
double N, which purports to be the log, and I will show it to council. Before we put it up on the screen, Dr. Peña, I'm showing you a document that's marked double N. Ask if you can take a look at it and tell me if you recognize this to be what purports to be this log that you were just describing for the record.
That looks like it, yes.
Okay, I'm going to ask to be put up on the screen, page 1, first of all. Basically, this is what it looks like, is that basically everybody signs in, and then when you get there, you put your ID number and your date and time. And I want to ask that this is a multi-page document and that we go to page 3. And if you could, excuse me, page 4, excuse me, page 4, and does...
Boom! Tiff Knox just now finished out that motherfucker. Boom! We have a spin in play for this guy right here. Thank you so much, Tiff. Boom! I don't even know if she knows it. She came in late there. Meowder Church van is about to be spun up right now. Tiff Knox finishing out that will. I did just want to have that one completely with all names without any double chances on there. But Tiff, you just nailed that son of a bitch with that. Thank you so much. And let me fill out this this wheel, and we'll get that spun. And where are we at on the second wheel? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 names already on the second wheel, which tonight I'm giving away a Meowder Church shirt and Murder Church hat combo on that wheel. So that one is an exclusive wheel. That one's already picked out. But then this first wheel that I'm about to make, guys. Oh my God, I want that bad boy. Like, I'm jealous.
Page 4, anywhere, show your...
Yo, Chris in the house. Chris in the house.
Yes.
Okay, and...
All right, let me get this wheel
what time
going.
does it-
We have an absolutely banger show scheduled for Thursday with Chris.
Document, and you actually filled that in with your own handwriting, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so it has your ID number, and then it has your name and the time that you went in, is that correct?
Yes.
And then 1775 would be the time you went in, and the time you left was 1934, is that correct?
Yes.
So you were there for that period of time because you had to sign out after you signed in, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and this particular document, you were like there were hundreds of people that went into this scene, some of them before you, is that correct?
Yes.
When you were there, when you first went into this particular scene and observed the decedent and did the search that you did regarding these tooth fragments and so forth that we were talking about, were there any other people in and around the scene at all?
Yes.
Were there sheriff's department investigators at the scene?
Yes.
Criminalists?
Yes.
Okay, and what were they doing? What did you observe them doing when you first went in?
They had the little yellow number tags over the evidentiary items that they think are possible value for the case, and they had a number of them on the carpet, I noticed. And they weren't
Welcome in,
quite
everybody.
sure of some on the stairs, I remember.
Again, that Meowder church design was 100% feel. Like, that's all him. This episode is sponsored 100% by Tahoe Toys tonight. Again, go check out his fucking Etsy, which is dank as hell. He can put anything you want on any kind of car, most likely. Maybe I'm going too far there. Maybe not any kind of car. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. But you get the idea. He can do some shit. He's doing some shit over here. I got a commercial for my boy. And he's did that design, and then he did this fucking design, which I've got 3 things here in the shop. I got the hoodie, I got this incredibly random colored sweatshirt that I put up there because I thought it popped pretty well, and then we've got this bad boy that we're giving away on the second wheel with a combination, again, of this right here, and that is still open with 4 spots to go. All right? Let's go. Let's do it. Let me get this wheel over here.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
It's a good spin. Tiff Knox! Tiff Knox came through at the end. And rounded out that son of a bitch and took home this fucking insane van that feels I can't speechless. Tiff, congratulations. Woo! What? That's insane. Let's go. Huh? We don't mess around here at the Muzz Nation. Out there, sure if you heard about it.
I'm telling you like it is, baby.
Boom, baby. Boom, baby. Boom, baby. Let's go. Yes. All right. So, yeah, I will get this out to you, Tiff. Oh, yeah. You just won this. So now, we have a second wheel already in play. I think we're 4 names off. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything over here in the old email. I am not. I think we're right now at 4 names off, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, the next giveaway tonight, or the next time we fill this wheel up, which again is not long, the combination of the new Meowder church shirt, which I'm about to order this son of a bitch myself. Like, holy shit. It's an insane design. And a Murder Church trucker hat combo, which I'm actually also going to order. I want to also order that. So yeah, that's the next one. Everyone hanging and banging. I really appreciate it.
Hanging and banging.
And yeah, let's keep rocking and rolling here with Dr. Peña. Oh, wow. I'm telling you right now.
And I was asked to look at some on the stairs, and basically that was it, outside of the body.
Okay, outside of the body then. So one of the things that you focused your attention on, and if we could have Exhibit M back, excuse me, is that you were looking for these tooth fragments. Is that correct?
Yes.
And do you have an opinion, Dr. Peña, that when the gun was fired inside the decedent's mouth, that caused these teeth to be ejected out of the mouth in some way?
Yes.
Okay, and you know that because the stippling or the cuts on the outside of the lips tell you that. Is that true?
Yeah, it's actually called pseudo-stippling.
Pseudo-stippling.
That's correct.
Okay, and they actually caused these little cuts so that you knew the teeth were forcibly objected, and they caused damage to the inside of the lips and then continued onward for some distance. Is that correct?
Yes.
And all of the tooth fragments were basically in one direction. In other words, there were some
Honey,
at the
next up on the wheel.
at the wall,
Three
the base
names
of the
off.
wall where the stairs were, and then there were some on the stairs sort of
Thank you
above
so much,
in
other
that same
hand.
general direction, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and so
Trying
it
to
was
get that
your
combo.
view that the teeth particles flew out. Some of them went farther than others, but they were all basically going in a similar direction. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, all based upon the recoil of the weapon. Is that true?
Yes.
Wow.
And
Tiff is also.
What the odontologists were trying to do is to piece together the teeth to see if all of them were there. Is that accurate?
Most of
Send
them,
another
yes.
$5
Now,
to the
you
Cash
also
App. Going on the wheel
talked
again.
about looking
Double on
for
our luck
this
tonight.
acrylic nail, this portion of that nail. And tell us what you did to search for that particular item. Where did you look? Did you talk to other investigators to also look for
Two names
it?
away.
What was your
What a night.
search for that?
Phil
Well,
is the
my
man.
role, along with Investigator
love that
Barbara Nelson.
So much positive
Investigator
energy.
Coroner criminalist toxicologist Lynn Tamoot, and the senior coroner criminalist, Mr. Dan Anderson. We looked in the immediate area. First, we started with her clothing, because she was wearing black, everything, black jacket, black slip on, and black, I think, stockings. But we looked immediately around her area on her clothing. And I myself could not find anything, and same with my colleagues. We then proceeded just to the immediate adjacent floor area, what we could do at that time, and couldn't find anything. But that's just in the immediate area, because all the other areas were really tagged or marked off, and we didn't want to compromise anything further, so we stayed within our realm.
Okay, so you looked just around the body, essentially.
Yes.
And did you alert the criminalists and the investigators from the sheriff's department
Queen
to
Olive.
be on the lookout, so to
One
speak,
step
for this
closer.
nail?
Yes.
When I say nail, I'm referring to an artificial acrylic nail as opposed to a human fingernail.
That's correct.
Okay. And, okay, so getting back to this memo here that talks about the tooth fragments and so forth, these vials, did they just have tooth particles in it, or did they have other items in it also that were collected along with them?
If I recall correctly, one of the vials had some wood fragments, wood
One name
fragments
wood.
in it,
Craziness.
like
Okay.
slivers of wood.
Okay, and little particles of other unknown items, is that correct?
I can't remember that.
Okay. All right, let's go to the second bullet point here that was discussed in this memo, and I want to ask you some questions about that. The second bullet point talks about the criminalists and the smears and blood spatter that wasn't described, and they're referring to a coroner criminalist. Do you know who that was?
Yes.
Who was that?
That's Miss Jamie Lynn Tamoot.
Okay. Now, it says that 3 swabs were collected from the wrist. Do you know what that process is to collect swabs?
To be honest with you, no, I don't. I know she did it, but I don't recall. I might have my head turned.
Okay. In general, do you know what it's meant when somebody says they collect swabs?
Yes, it's just as an example. I'm not sure what she's using, but it's like the Q-tips you buy at the store in general, and you'll just swab the skin as it's stated. And in this case, there were these mist-like stains on the wrists of Miss Clarkson, and that's what she was swabbing.
Okay. And if we could go to the next bullet point. And it talks about where you don't describe or mention any blood spatter on the hands, and the photos don't show the same. What was the issue there that was of concern at that particular time at that meeting?
I don't recall specifically. I know the photographs did not come out well, and they didn't show anything, and I didn't expect them to, because I'm looking again for abundant stains, particularly on the fingers, on the shooter's hand, if possible. And on the top part, by your knuckle regions, there'll be a lot of big droplets of blood. That's what my eye is training. That's a gross finding I can see with my eyes.
Okay. This was on the decedent's hands that this was being discussed. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. It had nothing to do with, you weren't asked to give an opinion about somebody else's hands, were you?
No.
Okay. Did you see any pictures of anybody else's hands?
No.
It says Dr. Peña did not describe or mention any blood spatter on the hands, and photos did not show the same. Was that referring to the decedent?
Yes.
Okay, and was that discussed at this meeting?
I can't recall that. I'd have to look at the notes.
Okay, well, this is a type note of that meeting, and it has a bullet point. Dr. Peña did not describe or mention any blood spatter on hands, and photos don't show the same. Do you remember what the discussion was regarding that?
I do not offhand at this moment, no.
Okay, there was something discussed regarding that, though you just don't remember the detail?
Right, yeah.
Okay. And then the next bullet point was a tape lift that the coroner criminalist used to collect a hair sample, and then it compounded blood spatter evaluation. Do you know did that have anything to do with your role in this case?
No.
You were actually present, were you not, when the decedent was brought to the coroner's office and basically her clothing was removed and it was evaluated at some point there and then also eventually sent to the sheriff's department, is that correct?
Yes.
And you actually described the evaluation of the clothing in your final autopsy report, is that true?
That's correct.
This would be the one that was signed on September 19th, 2003, is that correct?
That's correct.
And did you look at the clothing and evaluate the decedent's clothing for blood spatter?
I don't use the term blood spatter. I just say blood stains in general and hopefully put the location down. That's what I usually do.
Did various articles of her clothing that she was wearing have blood stains on them, using your term?
Yes.
Was there a lot of blood staining on her clothing?
I noticed she was wearing a black jacket. On the right side in particular, had a lot of blood stains on it. She had a slip-on that had blood stains on the front part of it. And some of her stockings, I noticed, had blood stains, if I recall correctly. I didn't notice anything on the left side of her jacket. This is prior to removal. I'm sorry, I don't want to get you confused, the jurors. Her shoes, I didn't notice anything on. And in her she had like a leopard purse. There were some blood stains that were running down there, I noticed. I'm just using the term loosely running, just to be descriptive-wise. And into the purse itself or around it, if I recall correctly. And I don't know if anyone in the purse, that's beyond me, and someone else can comment on that.
Okay. Now, you noted the purse. You talked about the purse yesterday being around her shoulder, kind of a little off her shoulder, basically.
Yeah, getting ready to come off, that's
all right.
right.
And you felt that was significant because that indicated to you that this wasn't a self-inflicted wound because she had her purse around her shoulder. Is that correct?
Well, that's one factor I consider. That's correct.
Okay, one of the factors. Do you also consider that she wasn't involved in a struggle? Because if she was involved in a struggle, maybe her purse wouldn't be on her shoulder. Was that another consideration you made?
It's hard to make that conclusion.
Okay.
It's difficult.
So your thinking was that she could have had a struggle, but her purse just stayed on her shoulder, notwithstanding?
It could have, yes.
Okay. And she could have done a self-inflicted wound, and it could have stayed on her shoulder also. Is that correct?
That's possible, yes.
Okay. Now, you couldn't rule that out, in other words. Is that true?
At that time, no.
Okay. And so when it comes to the purse, did that really sway you one way or the other on either of those issues?
No, just to get in the totality of everything put together on this case and coming to my final conclusions, I find the purse to be significant, being on that shoulder. If the ultimate self-infliction is going to occur, that purse should come off, in my opinion.
Okay. Now, the next bullet point that we talk about, and this is the last one in this particular document, talks about the movement of the body afterwards caused a purge that basically compromised or compounded the evaluation. What does that word mean when you say compounded the evaluation? What does that mean?
That means it made it difficult to evaluate for what the term they're using, blood spatter, on the left side because the jacket was soaking in what we call purge. And let me describe for the jurors what purge is just real briefly. In this case, because she has that oral gunshot wound I described for you yesterday, because of that wound, the blood was still pooling after death because she's supine, because we had to move her. And as you know, the heart is not pumping as we described, as we went through yesterday, but blood is still pooled in the mouth. So we transport her back to the coroner's office. We have to get the clothes off. She is turned on her side, and inadvertently, the blood came out of the mouth, mainly from that wound. There's blood still there, and that's called purging, just like vomiting is coming out of the mouth. And it went down and ran along the left side of the jacket, and I remember it got caught on the sleeves and the buttons, actually, too.
Okay. Now, did you mention anything about the compromising of the jacket in your autopsy report at all?
I did not, no.
Okay, and essentially, do you know where, did you evaluate the jacket before you got to the medical examiner's office?
I looked at it, I did what's called a cursory or brief exam at the scene.
Okay, and was there any blood on the jacket, the sleeves and areas of the jacket?
No, there wasn't.
Okay. Now, we talked a little bit about
this
you
goes
knowing
on for a
Dr.
while.
DeMaio from his publications and so forth. Did you ever meet with
We're on
him
part 5.
regarding this particular case where he actually came to your office for a period of time?
Yes.
Okay. Did he look at some pathology slides
Of,
that you had prepared at time of autopsy?
And a number of items,
16.
him and Dr. Bodden.
Okay, and
We're going to be
Dr.
with him
Michael
for
Bodden, is that correct?
quite
Yes.
some time.
And do you recall them
Dr.
looking at
Louis
these
Peña.
slides that were
I think I'm saying that correctly.
prepared by your office that were collected at the time that you did the autopsy on Lana Clarkson?
Yes.
And you discussed the case at length with him, or for a period of time at least, that day. Is that
I
correct?
did not say anything, actually. I said
Oh,
very
shit.
little.
Forgot the bells, but I'm going to do it now. But still, whew. Lord, forgive me. Forgive me. Forgive me, for I have sinned live right here on the YouTubes. Goodness gracious. Great balls of fire. One name away from the next spin, which again is for the new Meowder Church. I can't even say it. Meowder Church shirt and Murder Church hat combo.
Okay. Do you recall at some point later asking
Bobby
for and
Hansen
actually
just walked
receiving
through the
some
doors.
slides
What's
that
up?
were collected by Dr. DeMaio and asking that those be sent to your office, to you?
That's correct.
Okay, and that was done recently here, like in April, is that correct?
That's correct.
And did you have occasion, and these are, can you tell the juries what these slides are? Just give them an idea what type of evidence they are.
Sure. Those slides, I did not personally examine them, just to let you know. Those were turned over to the LA Sheriff's Department, and that'll be discussed by Dr. Lynn Harold. So when I had them sent to me directly, they were sealed when I received them. I took them over to Dr. Harold at the crime lab, and she took jurisdiction of the packet by FedEx, and photographed it and signed it in. So I had a chain of custody to their crime lab.
Christina coming through and getting the nude Meowder Church hoodie. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Seriously.
Taking it myself in my own
I
car.
want one of
to
those
that
too.
lab.
I want all that stuff.
I did, however, read and observe Dr. Miles' report, though.
Okay. Did you read his other reports also?
No, fuck
Yes.
And in testifying, did you take into consideration the points that he made in his reports?
No.
Okay.
Bobby's like, oh, we're just starting.
When you looked at the reports on the slides, did you take into consideration anything that was in that report?
No.
Okay. You just happened, how did you get his report?
It was sent to me as, that came separately, I believe. It was faxed from, I believe, the DA's office. That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
They sent you a number of items, materials over the course of this case. Is that true?
Yes.
Did you record or log in when you got those or make a note in your file?
I don't recall, but they're in I have them here with me today.
Okay. And did you, as far as the items that were sent to you by the district attorney's office, did you review those at their request?
I reviewed the report, the actual expressive written report by Dr. DeMille referring to those slides.
Okay. Now, I want to take this exhibit down MM, and I want to get to another exhibit, and we would ask that this be marked
Boom.
next in order. It's discovery page
That's a will,
649.
baby. Thank you,
And it's
Pam.
a
Appreciate that.
Double O.
Ask that it be
Get
put
that
on
thing
the
filled
board and
out.
ask if you recognize double L, Dr. Peña.
Double O.
Double O, I'm sorry. You recognize what double O is?
Yes.
Okay, and could you tell the jurors what that is as far as your evaluation of this particular case?
This is just another diagram with the number 38 in the left-hand corner of basically a skeletal frontal view.
Later, Miss Dina. Thank you so much.
indicating Basically the fracture.
Good luck on the new will.
Teeth that we went over yesterday.
Thank you so much for all the support, though. You're
You
amazing.
don't have to worry about. There's a little diagram I made of the palate, the hard part of your top of your roof of your mouth. You can touch your tongue to it. That's what's shown at the left-hand corner with I believe a left and right side. I can't see too well from here.
Was this is what we're talking about, the left and right, this little diagram here at the lower
Yes.
left-hand corner?
As seen anatomically, if you're looking at a person viewing them from a front view, and that's what that's showing. It's showing the palate was fractured, much like a bone fracture.
Okay, well, the palate is made of bone.
Well, part of it is.
The hard palate.
Yeah, the hard palate, that's correct.
Okay, so you have the hard palate, that's bone, and then there's the soft palate that's non-bone. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we're looking at this hard palate. So you diagram, and your reason for creating this particular diagram, focusing just on the lower left corner, is that
Gail, check your email. I need a bit of information from you still. I'm about to send your shirt out, but I need some kind of last name or something, I feel like, or it's going into Canada. I'm really freaked out about going into Canada now, but yeah, I just need to get back at me through the email. I just want to make sure I get it to you. I don't want to mess this up.
it was some injury that you noted at time of autopsy. It was a medical finding that you wanted to make sure that was properly observed and documented in your records. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now I'd like to now move to People's Exhibit number 44, with this also a diagram. And then we'll get back to this one in a moment. This one was discussed at length with you, by Mr. Jackson yesterday. In particular, you talked about the injuries to the tongue. In particular, the stellite wound and the bruising on the left aspect of the tongue, the bruising on the back of the tongue. And you gave an opinion that this contusion, and basically a contusion is the medical term that you use for a bruise, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you gave the opinion that this was consistent with blunt force trauma, is that true?
Yes.
Okay, and you would agree that all the injuries to the interoral portion of the mouth are consistent with blunt force trauma as far as the bruising is concerned, is that correct?
Yes.
And the exception would be the tearing of the skin, and that's actually a wound that there had to be some physical contact with an object, is that correct?
You mean the tearing to the top of the tongue?
Right. In other words,
that's not skin. That's just a different kind of, we call mucosa.
Ready to go.
Right.
But anyway, but it's a little bit tougher, but that's the top of your tongue. That's correct.
Basically, the tongue is a very muscular portion of the
Settle
body.
in,
Is that
baby.
true? It's all muscle.
That's correct.
Okay, and if somebody has a bruise on their arm, sometimes there's muscle
The tongue that looks like a cobra.
and there's tissue and fat and so forth, and
inside of
that's
us.
different than the tongue. It's all muscle. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Much harder to bruise that than
I need a warning
than
next
regular
time, guys,
skin. Is
in the
that
booth.
correct?
Yes.
With subcutaneous or underlying
Lord.
fat and
Guys in the truck
layers and so forth. Is that
that are
true?
As compared to skin,
sending
which
out
has
the
those
live
layers
shot
you
of
just
Phil.
mentioned.
Okay, so
Need a warning.
Essentially, when you looked at this particular wound, this wound that basically where the bullet hit the tongue
I'm out of here.
and actually tore the tongue, is that essentially what happened?
Yes.
Okay, you could see that. You could see features of that. Is that true?
That's correct.
Was that a contact wound?
That's a tough one. It's more of like a loose contact, I call it, because I didn't see any evidence of an impression from the muzzle to that tongue area. But it probably got nicked by the bullet in simple terms.
Okay, that's sort of what I was getting at. The bullet grazed it or nicked it or did something to cause this tearing, and you actually measured
dying
the
in
start
there.
of the tear
Hacking?
1.5 inches from the tip of the tongue. Is that correct?
Yes.
And this particular weapon that we're talking about is has a 2-inch barrel. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that would suggest to you that the barrel was basically pretty much fully within the mouth at the time of discharge. Is that true?
That I'm not too good at, but I know it's in the mouth, but I don't know at what
posture
point.
Okay, it only could go 2 possible inches into the mouth, because that's unless the cylinder was in the mouth also. But basically, the whole barrel was 2 inches. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and the tongue You don't know exactly where the tongue was at the time of discharge, is that true?
That's right.
Okay, but you presume it was behind the teeth because the teeth got blown out, is that true?
Yes.
Okay, now yesterday you talked about some ballistics testing that was done where a range was given between 2 and 3 inches. And where was the range from that was being measured from?
That I'm not sure of how they do that.
Okay.
Sorry.
In other words, what was your understanding as to where that, were you giving an estimate as to where the gun was fired, that it was 2 to 3 inches in the mouth from, like, let's say the lips or some other place, or was it from the back of the throat and the gun was 2 to 3 inches from the back of the throat, or where was the measurement started at?
You know, I don't understand that to be exact. It's a good question. It's basically my understanding from muzzle, when that bullet's just leaving out the gun, to target, meaning it's going to hit the tissue at what point. And I'm not quite sure how that's done and how they get that measurement. I'm just repeating it.
Okay. The target, what do you mean by that?
That's ultimately where the bullet's going to strike.
Okay, and where did the bullet strike?
Oh, it strikes the tongue, and then it goes on to basically mainly to the back of the throat.
Okay, so was the back of the throat where you measured 2 to 3 inches from the back of the throat, or was it from this object here?
I don't know because I didn't measure it.
Okay, so where does the 2 to 3 inches, where do you measure to and from on that 2 to 3 inch estimate?
I'm going to object at this point, Your Honor. It appears that counsel was asking the wrong witness the question. That's the question for Jim Carroll, the ballistics expert who did the measurements.
Are you able to answer the question? So,
No, I'm not.
all right, the objection is sustained.
In your opinion, could
Dowhard
the
does not fuck
gun have been
around.
fired 2 to 3
Like, sir,
inches
can you-
from this particular stellite wound on the tongue that was 1.5 inches from the tip of the tongue?
I don't know that.
Okay. 2 inches in front of this stellite wound towards the tip, in other words, north of the tip of the tongue, so to speak, would have been outside of the mouth. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so 2 to 3 inches would have been impossible if you're measuring from this wound. Is that correct? Because the teeth were blown out, and they wouldn't have been blown out had that been true, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, is there... You gave quite a bit of testimony regarding this contusion on the left as being caused during the time period close in time to death. Is that correct?
Yes.
And are you able to say exactly how this occurred? In other words, do you know how this contusion occurred?
I opine it's consistent with blunt
I
force
opine.
trauma due to the weapon itself.
Okay, meaning the weapon firing or the weapon hitting it?
The weapon hitting it.
Okay, is it possible that that contusion was caused by the firing of the weapon and the exploding gases within the mouth and the resulting trauma that can occur from that?
No, not in my opinion.
Okay, so you disagree that that's not possible at all, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and yesterday you opined that and gave the opinion that, or at least you, when we talked about gases and the forces involved and so forth, you said you're not really that familiar with the pressures that get.
This doctor is sleeping behind the witness stand. He has a tent that he has brought, and yeah, he's been bunking there for a few days now, and we know that he's still got quite a bit of time to go. So. Who knew?
Hold up! Hold up!
I know.
Hold up!
It's crazy.
Get exerted by a gunshot wound once it goes off in the mouth. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, now if we could go back to the hard palate exhibit, which is 0000. You noted, if we could highlight this left-hand portion, I wanted to ask you a few questions about that. Doctor, were you able to, with reference to the hard palate, which had a fracture, basically a linear fracture all the way up and down it, is that correct? And that was bone?
Yes.
Now, you would agree, would you not, doctor, that it takes a little bit more trauma, force to break bone than it does to cause a bruise. Is that true?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Okay. To cause a bruise, there has to be a certain amount of force that's necessary. In other words, I can grab your arm and I'm not going to necessarily cause a bruise. Is that true?
That's true.
And it's harder to cause a bruise in a muscle than it is in regular tissue, like an arm that has underlying fat and so forth. Is that true?
In general, yes.
Okay, and you would agree that it takes a little bit more force to break a bone than it does to cause a bruise. Is that true?
That depends actually on the person itself too, because some people are a little more prone to fractures, the elderly in particular, and even the young sometimes, if they have under mineralization of the bone, the bone's not calcified well, that can happen. It can break or bruise easier for that matter.
Okay, so bones and bruising, those are two separate issues. In other words, people might have something wrong with them where their bones are not as strong and then they would break more easily. Is that true?
Yes.
And then people might have their bones might be fine, but they might bruise more easily because they've got some condition or are taking some medication that might cause a concern with reference to that.
Correct.
Is that correct? So now let's talk about that for a moment. I want to talk first about bones. And you looked at the medical records for Lana Clarkson. You collected some of her medical records. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, and what medical records did you collect? If you could just give us sort of a general overview of what they are, and if you need a minute to kind of look at your file, I want to ask you to do that, if that would help you give us an idea as to what you did.
Her medical records, the most recent ones that I had at the time of autopsy, within weeks to follow after that, in 2003, would be from her own doctor. I don't like to mention names to protect the doctors. I just want to be honest with you.
Why don't you just give us the nature of the doctor, whether he was a type,
Hey,
like a neurologist or a bone doctor? Just give us a general description.
There's an internal medicine doctor who was seeing her at the very end, here in Los Angeles, of course. All are from LA. There was a orthopedic doctor who saw her frequently at the time she had these wrist fractures in 2001 and followed her up to about the period of 2002. There was an OBGYN doctor just for general maintenance checkups. She was seeing a neurologist, as I described yesterday. And general other, looked like internal medicine type doctors, again in LA County. And also an ENT specialist for she has some allergy issues going on and asthma. And so general physicians, internists, again, orthopedic type physicians.
Okay, so you got kind of an overview of some of the medical issues that related to her and what type of treatment she was getting in the years before that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Just by chance, did you happen to get
Outside,
any
149. Thank you so much. Appreciate
from
that.
medical professionals that dealt with psychological
starting a new wheel.
or therapy type records? Did you get any of those?
I only saw one from 1994.
Okay, and did you get that as part of your investigation in from the coroner's office?
No, that just came in recently from your side about maybe a couple months ago.
Okay, well, we'll park that for a moment, and let me ask you sort of a global or overall question. From your review of the medical records, did you get any information that Lana Clarkson had any problems with the mineralization of her bones, that she had some susceptibility for her bones to break more easily than normal?
No, I did not.
The bone breakage, it was dancing and apparently broke both her wrists a few years back before her death. Is that correct?
Yes, she was dancing. She slipped and fell, basically. That's how that occurred.
Okay, and basically then she was in an auto accident where she rear-ended somebody and re-injured her wrists after that. Is that true?
Actually, they thought she had re-injured it, but she went back to the same orthopedic surgeon. He actually excluded that. She basically strained it, and she lost a little bit of mobility for just a short period of time, but regained it. Was regaining, doing quite well with her strength and grip, et cetera, and range of motion after that time.
Basically, at the time of her death, her wrists were pretty much back to normal. Is that correct?
Getting there, yes.
Okay, if not 100% close there too, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Did you notice anything about her bones that were out of the ordinary as far as their strength and their composition? Like, did she have any type of a disease or a condition that would affect the breakage of her bones, other than the normal circumstance that one might encounter?
No.
Okay. So now we get to the questions regarding the hard palate and this fracture that goes the entire length of the hard palate. Okay, and the hard palate is on the roof of your mouth, basically?
Yes.
And underneath is the soft palate, is that correct?
Well, in the back is the soft palate.
Back is the soft palate and so forth. And what did you see on the soft tissue there? What did you see?
The X's, the slashes for the jurors, that's where the bullet went through. You could see it tore apart that area. But interesting enough, it starts to, you see it, that's the soft palate, the X's, I'm sorry. it starts to connect to the hard palate, and that's where the fracture starts. So it's kind of a continuation of the whole injury process that I was describing yesterday.
Now, does the fracture, is it caused by the bullet striking it?
No, it's indirect involvement because it's striking the soft tissue, but it's like a little resonance, like an earthquake in simple terms, and it's continuing from that soft palate into the hard palate, and it's continued on literally to the front part.
Okay. The bullet struck the back of the throat somewhere in an upward direction?
No, it struck the soft tissue in the back of the throat,
Okay.
horizontally.
And this would be, and the muzzle of the gun was 2 to 3 inches from the entrance of the bullet wound. Is that approximately correct, or do you know?
That I don't know.
Okay. And did the explosion of the gases have anything to do with this bone fracture?
In my opinion, no.
Okay. And in your experience, how many intraoral gunshot wounds have you looked at where a man or a woman has pulled a trigger and shot themselves in the mouth?
Maybe a couple hundred times.
Okay. And basically, you see soot and you see bruising and you see the bullet hole, all of these things that were similar to this particular case. Is that correct?
Oh, well, normally in the suicides that we see in our office, the predominant things that the predominant site that we see is the hard or soft palate. The muzzle will actually go up and plant it there. You'll see the actual muzzle imprint, and you'll see the sitting right around. It's like a circle, and you'll see the fracturing of the hard palate. Not linear like that, but a nice little hole, and then it goes upward, of course. But we do see them horizontal too, but it can occur both ways.
Okay. In other words, you see more injury to the hard palate typically?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Now, in this particular case, do you know whether or not the gun was resting on the tongue when it was fired or not?
I don't know that.
Okay. You're saying it could have been, and could the gun have
we
been
get another
resting
beer.
on the teeth and the
Get
tongue?
another wheel going.
I don't know that.
We
And
got about
yesterday
another
you said that the
30
mouth was
minutes
somewhat open because the
here, a
gun
little
had to be
more,
in the
35.
mouth. Is that true?
Yes.
And I'll be right
And
back.
is it also correct
Thanks,
that,
everyone, for hanging out, though. I
do you
appreciate
know
it.
whether the lips were closed around the barrel of the gun?
I don't know that.
But you know that basically when stuff came out of the mouth, it caused a tearing of the lips with this pseudo-stippling. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, let me correct that. Not the lips. The lips are outside. The inner part of your gum line is called the mucosa, or buccal mucosa, B-U-C-C-L-A, just so you understand anatomically where we're at. Lips are on the outside. This shot did not affect her lips.
Okay. Now, are you saying, just so that we fully understand your opinion, Dr. Peña, that it's impossible for this fracture to have been caused by just the explosion of the gases themselves, that did not happen, and you can state that to a reasonable degree of medical certainty?
I'm not saying it's impossible, but just going from my experience with fractures and where the location of that wound was, what I saw, there's a continuity. And I'm not going to say 100% certain, but let's say 99.9% certain that it's from that wound.
And how certain are you that this contusion on the tongue, the one that's on the left that you talked about, did it have any type of an abrasion to it? In other words, where the top of the skin was disrupted or anything such as that?
Okay, again, the muscle, it's muscle, that tongue, it's not skin. I want to distinguish that for you. You have skin on your hands and your body. The tongue is muscle. It did not have any abrasions that I noted or any imprints.
Okay. And if you could define to the jurors what an abrasion is. Let's say I have an abrasion on my skin. What is that, if you could just give a descriptive term to that?
Sure. If you take your own hand, and if you were to strike something, we do this every day, hit something inadvertently, or you fall and scrape your knee, you just denude off the top part. Denude means to rub off the top part of that skin, and you'll see a little redness, and it's kind of confined to an area. We've all done that when you fall on your knees. Well, in a couple days, that heals completely. And one important thing you notice, it heals completely. There's no scarring. And that is typically what's commonly we see in what's called an abrasion.
Okay. Now, excuse me for misstating the issue regarding the lips, but the lips are the outside. The inside of the lips you call the mucosa. I want to talk a little bit about the lips themselves. Were they, because of the gas pressures and so forth, did they get torn and bruised up because of the explosion of the gun?
Only from to answer that, no. Only
Okay.
from the pseudo-stippling that I described yesterday.
Okay, but that was caused because the gun came back out and that all the gases and so forth caused some stretching of the mouth, is that correct?
No, that was from the fracturing, mainly from the recoil that fractured the porcelain crowns like glass, and that caused it to break and hit the mucosa and bruise it and cut it and tear it. And some of it may be from what you're saying. I can't exclude it. That's a good point, actually.
Okay.
Maybe, but predominantly it's from the shattering of the two front teeth, upper teeth.
Okay, could we have Exhibit 44 placed on the screen again? This is your diagram of the tongue that we talked about. Dr. Peña, were there any abrasions to the lip, the outside of the lip, or tears to the lip, or anything such as that?
That's a good question. You know, let me look at my report out if I may. I'm going to get the certified copy out. Your Honor, is that all right?
Yes, that's fine.
Thanks. Just going to look at something here real quick.
If you could show me what that looks like, Doctor, I'd like to see
Sure.
so I can follow along.
And Mr. Jackson, it's a diagram 22. Diagram 22 dated from February 4th. This is the time I do the autopsy for the jurors. What I did note here is on the lower lip, but inside, I'll put my lip down like this and move it. So if you look at me,
Inside of the lip?
inside of the lip, I'm pulling the lower lip down. She had a red abrasion, 1/2 by 1/2 inch.
Right. How about the outside of the lips themselves? Just the lips, did you see, was there any cuts or tears or abrasions?
No, there wasn't.
Okay. And teeth, were there any chips in the teeth other than the ones that were blown out from the recoil of the gun? Did you see any of the other teeth that were chipped or broken or anything such as that?
No.
Okay. And this particular contusion, if somebody's tongue was in their mouth in its natural resting position, would this contusion be near some of the teeth?
Yes, it would.
Okay, and has it ever been your experience, doctor, in all your many cases that you have looked at interoral gunshot wounds that were self-inflicted, that the tongue would, when the bullet explodes, it would cause the tongue to basically smash up against the teeth and cause a contusion? Do you ever see that in any of your cases?
Not that I can recall, because when that occurs, it's usually the gun has been placed what's called submental under the chin, and usually it could be a regular handgun. A lot of men like to use the shotgun and put it up there, and it causes a devastating wound to the tongue. It'll hit the tongue and split it, but it's all tearing again and laceration, just like you see here. But you don't see bruising because that tongue is so ripped apart, so it's even harder to find. And even with a handgun, I've seen that. But again, it's all lacerations or tearing defects. I rarely ever see bruising that I can remember.
Well, I want to talk just about interoral gunshot wounds for the time period.
Okay.
Okay. Do you ever see bruising that's not associated with the bullet itself?
I haven't, no.
Like in this case, there's a lot of bruising that occurs in the back of the tongue. Is that correct?
Right.
And basically, were they particles of the bullet that hit that?
Yes, that's a good point. I believe that the bullet struck the, well, we know it struck the spinal column in the back after it went through the throat. And when it fractures that column, the bullet starts to get compromised, so it starts to tear apart, literally. And a lot of the lead stuff came back the other way and was striking the portions of the breathing tube area that you see dotted. And then again, part of the tongue as he's pointing with the laser. And that's what I believe caused a lot of that bruising. But it's superficial. Again, it stayed on the top part of that tongue, what we call mucosa, and had no depth to it because there wasn't enough power to cause any more trauma deeper in that muscle.
You know, when you talk about depth, sometimes you actually slice the tissue to look at that and do a section. That's what it's called. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and did you do that with the back of the tongue contusions?
Yes, I did.
Did you do it with the one on the left?
Yes.
Okay, and what did you find when you did that?
The one to the back of the tongue that he's pointing to with the laser earlier, that had no depth to it, or very little, or I would have noted it. The one to the left has a ½ inch depth. That's quite significant.
Okay.
And so that's why it's measured in 3 dimensions, because it was worthy to note that at that time.
Now, Dr. Peña, when it comes to
Had to get
your
Jip some more food,
evaluation
too.
of bruises, and you talked about some on the hands
Looking at me like,
and
what
so
are we
forth, you
doing
actually
here?
looked at other areas of the body too.
It's
Is
been
that
weird.
true?
Yes.
And when you looked at other areas of the body, did you see any bruises, for example, on the
Crack
legs,
open a steam
the
wowzer.
arms, other portions of Lana Clarkson's body?
Yes.
And how many did you note? Are you able to give us a number that you noted overall or estimate?
Yeah, may I refer to my report?
Sure.
Just real briefly.
Of course.
If you could just give us an
Dr. Peña.
overall estimate as to the number of bruises.
Of course.
Okay, to the upper, remember the right arm from yesterday? To the jurors, the right wrist, and actually part of the right near it too, though it wasn't described, there are 2 bruises there. I'm trying to get you the total. So to the right arm completely, there are 4 total bruises. To the left upper leg, there are 2 bruises. To the left lower leg, there's 1 bruise. To the right back leg, there are 2 bruises. I'm not tallying these, by the way. I'm just giving you locations, so.
Yeah, give me locations, and I just want to get a general
That
number, and then we'll
sounds
ask some
like a good
additional
idea,
questions.
so-
Okay, and to the right front leg, there are 2 bruises also.
Okay, so total, we're talking maybe a dozen or so throughout her body. Is that on the outside of her body? I'm trying to-
Approximately, that's correct.
Okay, I don't want to say that's the exact number, but we're talking about, let me ask you some questions about the medical records that you talked about. Did you note in Lana Clarkson's medical records anything indicating that she had any type of bruising that was not normal for a human being?
The only thing I noted was her own personal summation when she was filling out a questionnaire for seeing her doctor, that she said she does bruise easily.
Okay, we'll get to that eventually, but she actually checks it a couple of times, that she has a kind of a bruising problem or something she reported?
Oh, she just states it, actually. I'm sorry, not states it, but she writes it out. I don't remember ever seeing a box check. But again, I may be wrong. It's been a while since I looked at those.
Okay, and do you know whether or not she was taking any medications that caused her to bruise more easily than had she not been taking those medications?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, what medication was that? If you could just give us the name of it.
There could be several. One is called acyclovir.
Okay.
I don't know how to spell it, I'm sorry. I'm not a
Okay.
good speller. Actually, some of the other medications, if you look at them carefully, I'd have to look these up, but all of them can, I won't get into the details, but they can potentially cause bruising. I don't know what the frequency is, but Vicodin,
Okay.
she used regularly. I don't know about the Aleve, to be honest with you. Alcohol, I don't know about, chronic use, but no, actually they do tend to bruise easily. People that are alcoholics, that's right. Chronic alcoholics will.
From her history, she had some issues regarding alcohol, right?
Well, not recently. She toned down that. I would consider her. She considered herself a social drinker by her history when they were doing her intake, meaning by her doctor. But again, I don't know what that means.
Okay.
But that could be a factor, and that's all I can tell you, is I'm not real up on that.
Okay, but she was taking some medications, and you gave us the name of that medication in particular was one that would cause bruising, to use your words.
Yes.
Okay, and did you see, let's just kind of go from head to toe, starting at the toes, moving upwards, these bruises that are on her legs. You describe a number of them, is that correct?
Yes.
In general, would you say that they were in different or varying stages of healing in general, using that term in general?
Well, all I can tell you is based on, because I didn't cut in all of these when I looked under the microscope, but all I can tell you based on color, and what we use as medical examiners are 2 terms. Well, there can be a more recent one, and the colors can range from purple, red, I've seen green being very recent, to the extreme where it's yellow, and pretty much they're healing at that point. So you've got red, purple, and green as being recent, yellow, the extreme, being healing or old.
Okay, so with the exception of yellow, everything is recent, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so when you used that term yesterday, recent, you were including all the different colors that you just described, is that true?
That's correct.
Let me ask you sort of a foundational question, Dr. Peña, and I'm sure that this comes up occasionally in the type of work that you do. Has there been any type of medical studies where bruises can be timed? In other words, you can know that a bruise is a day old or 2 days old versus an hour old or a minute old or anything such as that?
There have been.
Okay, and would it be fair to state that basically when you say recent, you're talking anywhere from minutes to 2 days old? In other words, you just really can't pin it down to a time period.
Depending on what book you read, it goes from 0, which means the time that it occurred, to 4 hours, to 6 hours. I've seen some go out to 24 hours. These are different literature articles you'll read. So it jumps around quite a bit. There's no consistency to it.
Okay.
But what I gather from this is that you can't pinpoint in time and say, oh, yeah, this happened within 12 hours. Again, you have to put the totality of what happened. These are good factors to point out, as Mr. Plort is doing, because again, it gives you an idea in your own mind once you put the totality of what happened here. And like I alluded to yesterday about being restrained, could this all happen at the same time? It's good to think about all that. We know they're not way out old. I wouldn't say days, but maybe a day. That'd be fair.
Okay, let me ask you this question. Is there any medical science that tells us how to date bruises? Is there some study where they've been looking at this issue for years?
It's a little bit more green around the edges.
Doctors discuss it all the time, is that true?
Yes.
And when they talk about this range, something being recent, 0 to 24 hours, depending upon which study you might read, there's some of them that actually say 2 days, is that correct? 48 hours.
Well, that depends on the type of cells they're seeing under the microscope. That's a tough one, yeah.
Okay, but in any event, these ranges, anywhere like a bruise, you might look at it and it might be purple and it might be a minute old or it might be 24 hours old. You really can't pin it down, isn't that true?
Yes.
And when they do these studies, they do them with people that don't have any bruising problems, is that true?
Well, that they don't know, because a lot of times we don't know the medical histories of the people that have died that come in.
But the studies, they kind of document who the people are. It's a controlled study where they take a medical history and then they give these ranges. Isn't that true?
Well, they try to get a history. That's correct.
Right. So I want to talk about the medical studies, not something that you observe on a regular basis in the work that you do as a forensic pathologist. These studies that they've tried to pin this bruising down and they get this variability, basically recent, they try to exclude people that have problems in the study so they could sort of get a normal or a range within normal. Is that true?
That's true.
Okay, and they've actually been studying this since the 1950s, well over 50 years, is that correct?
Yes.
And there's wide disagreement on all of these issues, isn't that correct?
Yes.
But these studies focus on people in general who have no bruising problem, isn't that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that would be different than Ms. Clarkson's condition based upon her own report of her history, as well as the fact that she was on medication that causes bruising, isn't that true?
Each witness
That's not necessarily correct.
Okay. Now, let's talk about some of the bruises on the legs. Did you make observations that they look different or had different characteristics to them?
Only by
It's like,
color.
not that they would ask this question, but he's like asking it every which way possible 60 times. Like, I feel like everything's drawn out.
Yellowish or brownish, and those indicated
I don't know why.
Historical, is that correct?
I use the term yellow, again, older, and purple.
Everything is
that
like
other
biding
term
time
color.
with them.
I'm sorry, that other term is a color to mean recent.
Okay. So, just so
everything's
that we're
like
clear, I want to
stalling.
understand
It's the
what you
strangest
mean
thing.
when you use the term recent. Are you saying that that's
To
an hour,
this
2
level
hours,
of
4 hours, or
stalling?
you're just not making a judgment as to that?
There were there
I'm not gonna
16
make a judgment.
fucking parts
Okay.
of this
And,
testimony?
When you look at a bruise and you look at another bruise, can you tell which one came first?
No.
Can
How
you
many
tell
times
whether
has he
one's
asked that
an hour,
question?
4 hours, 12 hours old?
No.
Can you tell if one is 1 hour, 2 hours, 12 or 24 hours old?
No.
Like, am I crazy?
Can you tell whether
Or is he basically
one was
asking the
made at
same question
time
60
versus
different
another,
ways?
No.
even if they look exactly the same?
No.
We've established
That's impossible,
you
is it not?
can't.
At this time.
There's no science that would tell you that, correct?
That's correct.
Doesn't matter what you do.
At this time, that's
There's no
correct.
test to run
Am I crazy?
that would tell you that?
That's correct.
Even there at the end, he said, "Oh, is that right? Is that correct? Is that right? Is that correct?" Like 5 times. How many times does he? Fuck. Let my man go. Handcuffed to the fucking chair right
I
now.
want to ask you a little bit more and some follow-up questions regarding this acrylic nail that you searched for. Do you know whether the people that were at the scene, the criminalists, looked for the nail at other areas other than the area around the body?
It varies,
My understanding
Sammy.
was
This
yes.
one's an hour, the
Okay,
most of an
and who
hour or
was it
more
that did that, if you know?
so far.
I don't
so
know.
we're on part
Okay, do you know what
5.
department or agency they work for?
It'd be the LA Sheriff Crime Lab.
Do you remember talking to those individuals?
No.
Do you know how they were alerted to the fact that the nail, the acrylic nail, was missing?
I would have told them.
Okay. Now, if we could have a picture
We've moved
of
on.
the
Let's keep
hand
moving here.
with the broken nail, and I don't know if we've marked this as an exhibit. I thought we had either at this hearing or another hearing.
Yes. Free Dr. Peña.
Can we have
this marked
next in order, PB?
Double P.
This particle of nail that's
Oh
broken.
my
on
God.
exhibit
I don't know how
P.
many days, Jen, but for a while we're hanging and banging. Let me get back to it. Oh God, he's far away.
Hanging and banging.
With Dr. Peña. I made him his own emoji because he has 16 parts in this trial.
You see
We're on
that
part
here,
5.
Doctor? Basically, with the first of all, this exhibit PP is
PP.
taken at the medical examiner's office. Is
He
that
said
correct?
Yes.
And you know that by the ruler. Is that true?
That's correct.
Okay, and this is when the body was there, and basically the first thing that happens when you, after you go to the death scene and the body is eventually removed, you take it to the medical examiner's office, and then basically there's a bag that you look at the body, you photograph it before it's unclothed, and then you take photographs as you proceed through the procedure. Is that correct?
You mean removing the clothing?
Right, before you remove the clothing, well, actually, you take a picture before the bag is open, the body bag, correct?
Yes.
Then you take a picture once it's open, then you take a picture as you remove it. In other words, it's photo documented at each stage of the procedures. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then eventually the body is washed,
Correct.
okay? And then you take more pictures. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. Now, can you tell whether this picture was taken before the body was washed or after?
It's before.
Okay, because you see some blood spatter on one of the fingers. Is that correct?
Or blood stains, that's correct.
Okay. You don't know if that's a spatter or a stain or whatever, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And basically, you know that essentially this is the nail that you saw a little sliver of this, about a 1/4 inch basically, of it, and you can actually look at the measurement and see the scale up here. This is a 3-inch ruler, is that true?
Yes.
So if you kind of compare that with this, it's about a 1/4 inch break of this acrylic. Underlying that is the actual natural nail that I'm pointing to now. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, and did you learn or did you do any type of background work as to where Lana Clarkson got these nails, how long she had been having them, or anything such as that?
Objection, also speculation. It's also irrelevant.
Okay, did you get any information from any source regarding that?
Objection, irrelevant.
Sustained.
Relevance.
Dr. Peña,
After all the-
were you able to conclude when this nail, this acrylic was broken? Were you able to come to any conclusion as to that?
No.
Were you able to tell where this thumb was at the time that the nail was broken? In other words, what position it was in or anything such as that?
No.
Did you see any, well, let me ask you this question. When you look at a body, one of the things that you look for is any evidence that any soot or other debris or residue that's visible from a gunshot is deposited on the body. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Sometimes if a hand is near a weapon, sometimes you see actual soot and debris on the hand itself coming from the discharge of a weapon, correct?
Yes.
We talked a little bit about that yesterday. I want to ask some other questions. Did you see any of that on that thumb at all?
Not grossly, no.
Okay, well, did you see it microscopically?
I didn't examine it microscopically.
Okay, so as far as you know, you didn't see any bullet residue, to use that term. Do you know what, is that a term that's familiar to you?
Yes.
Okay, what is bullet residue as you use that term?
Well, it's technically called gunshot residue, and they're elements. Remember basic high school chemistry, like barium, antimony, and lead? That's what primarily makes up that, what's called a primer residue. It's at the base of the bullet. So it's like when the hand hits that bullet, it starts to spark, hit the rest of the powder above it, and that sends the bullet out. That's all I can tell you. Basically, that's what they're looking at. They're looking for.
That's a chemical residue, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, I want to talk about stuff that's visible, like soot and stuff that looks black. Like you saw a lot of that in Miss Clarkson's mouth, the inside of her mouth, correct?
Actually, I just saw it on the palate part of her mouth.
Okay. And was there some embedded in her tongue?
That came later. That's correct. There was.
Okay. But as far as the hand...
Gotcha. My bad. I don't hear the fajitas, but thank you for letting me know.
Hand is concerned, the hand itself, did you see any soot, black stuff on any of her fingers?
No.
How about her thumb?
No.
How about the non-broken part underlying this acrylic that's broken? Did you see any of it?
So as this ends, we're gonna do a wheel spin, baby.
On the edges of her thumb?
No.
Did you see any evidence that there was any black or marks or burns on her thumb?
No. I'm gonna start ranting like that.
Let me ask you this question. If you, let's say that this acrylic was broken because the bullet struck the acrylic and broke it. Let's hypothetically say that happened. Would you expect to see something that's left there that would be evidence of the bullet? Or
Objection foundation.
Overruled. He may ask if he's able to. You're able to offer an opinion on that?
No.
Okay.
Well, in that case, the objection is sustained.
Fajitas still? Is it still fajitas? Let me fix it here.
Dr. Peña,
I heard a little bit, and I think it might be in the video. What I'm hearing.
You look at
unless I'm crazy,
nail, or did you see any breakage of the nail itself?
Well,
not the acrylic, the underlying natural nail.
Okay, good. No.
Okay. When you look at a hand and where somebody's been shot, do you look at the hand to see if there's any injury to the hand that could be associated with a weapon, a gun?
Yes.
Okay, what do you look at in general?
And for the jurors, what I look for is powder. You can see it grossly. Our office, if they come in and they've been manipulated a little bit, I've rarely seen it, but sometimes we do see it on the inner part of the shooting hand, whether it be left or right-handed. Most people are right-handed. The other thing I look for are little pinch marks in the webbing between the first and second digits, your thumb and your index finger. Sometimes you can see that. Rare, but we've seen a few, but you have to look. Those are the main things that I look for, and also the palms to see if there's any soot on there, and that's basically it.
Okay. Now the palms where you look for soot, you look for soot because sometimes people that are involved in struggles with guns, they grab the gun and soot gets deposited on the palms of their hands or even burns. Isn't that true?
Yes.
Okay. So I want to show you another generic picture of a gun that shows what type of energy comes out of a revolver when it's fired.
Before you do that, I have another case I need to call, and it's also time for our...
He's like, for the love of God, I've got to do other stuff.
Okay. Morning recess. Ladies and gentlemen, keeping in mind the admonition, will be in recess for about 15 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Dowhard. An excellent judge. My favorite judge. I saw Jay put up a post, too. It was his favorite. I said, I'm writing in Larry Fiddler, Judge Dowhard, Bruce Willis's long lost brother. We're going into part 6 of Dr. Peña continues his testimony with 53 more minutes, starting out on Sunday morning at 9 a.m. We got a wheel spin that is about to go down right now, and We got cool. The rest of the week's interesting. Thursday night, me and Dan and Chris Stewart are going to be watching a movie. It's called Long Shot. It's a Lou Pearlman film. If anybody is watching that Dirty Pop series that is currently on Netflix, if you're going to be hanging out Thursday, I would suggest checking that out. I'm actually going to as well. This is the guy that was the manager of NSYNC, the Backstreet Boys, and a real sleaze ball. So yeah, he made a movie in 2001 called Long Shot. Chris Stewart knows a lot of shit about this movie. We're going to have a good night. We're going to start here on YouTube at 8:30 that night p.m. And then we're actually going to move over to Kick to actually watch this film. So you're going to want to be hanging and banging that night. We're about to do the will. There is no Feral Friday this week. There's no Feral Friday. It's Dan's birthday on the 2nd, on August 2nd. So he's actually doing a shindig, a party at his house Friday night. And I'm going to go hang out with him that night. So yeah, very rare occasion that we're canceling Feral Friday. But I will see you Thursday for a very special night. And then, of course, Murder Church Sunday morning. Let's get a will going real quick because we have another incredible night. And this is again for the combo. The Meowder Church shirt that just dropped today and is already selling like hotcakes, and the Murder Church hat, which I need to purchase as well. We got a bundle tonight, a very special night. I actually might get this fucking sweater, man. This thing's pretty dank. And the hoodie. I actually already sold one of the hoodies. All right. And then do not forget, follow Tayo Toys. If you need anything custom like this, if you have nephews, sons, hell, daughters, nieces, anybody, moms, dads, uncles, aunts, baby, everybody loves a car with their name on it. All right, Phil, get the hell in here, my man. Let me get this in the chat real quick. Boom. And now let's get one more will going, baby. Let's rock. As Al Bundy would say. He's gonna say it.
Let's rock.
Let's go. Good luck. Tara and Dusty. Tara and Dusty with the win. Get my headphones on here. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Congratulations.
Banging, banging.
Woo. What are we doing?
Give me the loop. Give me the loop. Hold up.
This place is dead anyway, man.
Hold up. Respect my house.
Boom. Getting the bundle. Taryn Dusty. Yes. Get on there. Follow Phil for sure. I'm going to put you in the winner circle. Tiff Knox won the van tonight. The very special. Let me show it off real quick one more time so you can get a good look at that thing. This right here. Winning that bad boy. Tiff Knox. And then just now picking up the new Meowder Church. The Kitty Priest, huh? You're going to be getting that shirt coming at you, Taryn Dusty, with the hat. A combination. And again, everybody coming through. Buzz Nation growing every day. Everybody rolls. Holly Berry's coming through. Oh God. Oh Lord. Woo. You better get a lotto ticket. You better get a lotto ticket. Let me put you in here. Taryn Dusty is a multi-time winner. She has been doing well out here. Meowder Church bundle. Just so I don't forget. I'll forget, guys. I'll forget. And I'm still going down the line. Yeah, we'll actually get some more shipped out. And Gail, if you're still hanging in here, please check my email. I just want to get as much information as possible for something after Gail. That's all I have. And I just want to make sure that gets to you. So everybody, thank you all so much. What an insane night. Yeah, come through for Thursday because we're going to have a really fun, rare occasion type of night. Again, we're going to be watching a movie over on Cake, but we're going to start here. Chris Stewart going to be coming through. We're going to be talking boy bands and sleaze balls. Say that 3 times fast. Love you guys. Let's get the hell out of here. Have a great Wednesday. Let's go. Hump day, baby.
Pittsburgh.